Let me continue with the chapter 22, the last chapter in first PUC, the chemical coordination and integration. So the chapter begins with the hormones. Glands are meant for secretion. There are certain glands which do not have ducts to carry over their secretion. They are called ductless glands or endocrine glands. These endocrine glands secrete hormones. Hormones are the chemical substances which are transported from the region of productivity to the region of activity. There they control all the activities. Such chemical substances which are transported from the region of productivity to the region of activity or target called hormones. Hence hormones are called chemical messengers. So endocrine glands secrete hormones. Not only the endocrine glands, there are certain glands like the gastrointestinal glands also secrete certain hormones. Liver also secretes hormones. Kidney, heart also produce these hormones. And it is the hypothalamus which secretes two important hormones, G and RH, gonadotropin releasing hormones. They stimulate the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland to release gonadotropic hormones like the FSH and LH, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. And one more hormone which is secreted in the hypothalamus region is the somatostatin, which inhibits the growth hormone. These from the axon, these hormones released which from the hypothalamus, it is under the neural control, that is from the axon nerve endings to the anterior region of the pituitary hormones especially, and they leave these hormones into the postal circulatory system and control all the activities under the activities of this pituitary gland is under the neural regulation of the hypothalamus. And coming to the pituitary gland, in the pituitary gland two lobes can be differentiated, anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. Anterior lobe called adenohypophysis, posterior lobe called neurohypophysis. In the adenohypophysis, that is the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland, different hormones are secreted, like if we give code word means staph elsewhere, somatotropic hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, FSH follicle stimulating hormone, and then luteinizing hormone and luteotropic hormone. In brief, the somatotropic hormone, it regulates growth in organisms. Over secretion causes gigantism in children, and the over secretion in adults, it causes acromegaly, that is the disproportionate growth of bones, and under secretion causes dwarfism, and the under secretion in adults causes Addison's disease characterized by dry skin and degeneration of the sex organs. That is about the growth. That is somatotropic hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone, it stimulates the thyroid gland to secrete thyroxine, that is somatotropic hormone. And then adrenocorticotropic hormone, it stimulates the cortex region of adrenal gland to secrete corticoidal hormones like the mineralocorticoids and glycocorticoids, and the hormones like aldosterone, cortisone, etc. that is secreted in the cortex region of the adrenal gland. And then FSH stimulates the development of the graphene follicle. It stimulates follicle cells to secrete estrogen. In brief, I am giving. And in males, it stimulates Sertoli cells to provide nutrition to the germ cells, and it also stimulates Sertoli cells to produce certain factors required for spermiogenesis, that is the development of motile sperm from non-motile spermatid. These are the three important functions of FSH, as it plays both role in men and women. And coming to the LH, LH is required for the formation of corpus luteum, and then it stimulates corpus luteum to secrete estrogen. In males it is called ICSH, interstitial cells stimulating hormone. It stimulates interstitial cells or Leydig cells to secrete androgenic hormones like the testosterone. As the FSH and LH play an important role in both men and women, they are called gonadotropic hormones. It is the GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone secreted in the hypothalamus. It stimulates the anterior region of the pituitary gland to secrete these gonadotropic hormones like FSH and LH. And it is the LTH, it is also called a prolactin, lactogenic hormone or prolactin. It is required for the maintenance of corpus luteum till the end of pregnancy. It prepares endometrium for implantation. It stimulates the mammary gland to secrete milk, hence it is called prolactin hormone. So that is these are the various functions of the prolactin. Prolactin has no role in the men. Only the FSH and LH will have their role, hence they are called gonadotropic hormones. Gonadotropic hormones. In the posterior lobe, as we know very well, ADH is secreted, also called vasopressin, which is vasoconstrictor, increases BP and also increases GFR, and it stimulates the iriferous tubules for the reabsorption of water. And then after the ADH, next oxytocin, it stimulates the contraction and relaxation of the wall of the uterus during parturition or the childbirth. These are the hormones, various hormones secreted in the posterior lobe as well as the complete the pituitary gland. And coming to the pineal body, this pineal gland, it is located at the dorsal side of the forebrain, and secretes melatonin, and which controls sleep-wake cycle, menstrual cycle, pigmentation and temperature. That is very important functions of this pineal gland. And coming to the thyroid gland, thyroid glands are present on either side of trachea, and they are joined by a part called isthmus. And this composed of follicle cells and stromal tissues. Follicle cells secreted two important hormones, T4 thyroxine and T3 thyroxine. Tetraiodothyronine is T4 thyroxine. Triiodothyronine is the T3 thyroxine. Under secretion of this hormone called hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism results in the simple goiter and mental retardation, growth retardation as newly born child in case of cretinism, and also the deaf mutism. And also irregular menstrual cycle is also because of the hypothyroidism. So increase in the secretion of the thyroxine hormones, whether it is T3, T4, called hyperthyroidism, may be due to cancer. Also sometimes hyperthyroidism is caused. So this increase in weight and increases the basal metabolic rate also. Hence, thus the thyroxine regulates the basal metabolic rate and even plays an important role in RBC production. And the carbohydrate protein lipid metabolism is also controlled by the thyroxine, and water electrobalance is also maintained by the thyroid hormones. There is one more hormone called thyrocalcitonin, TCT, thyrocalcitonin. It is also secreted by the thyroid gland, which regulates the calcium composition of the body fluids. And next to this, parathyroid glands are present by the sides of the thyroid glands and secrete parathyroxine hormone, PTH. So this PTH robs calcium from the bones and increases the levels of the calcium in the blood, but this results in dissolution and demineralization of the bones. So as a result, soft bones will be produced. And it also plays an important role in calcium reabsorption in renal tubules. I mean the renal tubules, that is PCT, calcium reabsorption. So far not asked, that is also very important. And calcium absorption from the food also, that is also a role of the parathyroid hormone, which is very important, along with the thyrocalcitonin, regulates the calcium composition. As it robs calcium from the bones, it is called a hypercalcemic factor. That is, it increases the calcium, that is the PTH. So next to this, the thymus gland. Thymus gland persists only during the childhood, and thymus gland, it produces, as we know very well, it is concerned with the immunity, that is the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes are produced. And the T lymphocytes, as we know very well, there are two types, helper cells and killer cells. Killer cells are phagocytic in nature. Helper cells, they help B lymphocytes to produce antibodies called cell-mediated immunity, and the B lymphocytes produce antibodies, that is called humoral immunity. All these immunities controlled by the thymus gland. Next to this, the adrenal glands. Adrenal glands are also called suprarenal glands, as they are located above the kidneys. A cap-like structures in these two portions can be differentiated: outer cortex and inner the medulla region. And in the medulla region, the adrenaline, noradrenaline, dopamine hormones are secreted. They are called emergency hormones. These catecholamines, they are also called catecholamines, and these emergency hormones, they help in the breakdown of the glycogen and breakdown of lipids and proteins also. That is not given so far. And these are the hormones of flight and fright. These are the hormones which prepare our body to face the emotions. They increase or decrease the rate of heartbeat according to need felt by organism. Hence they are called emergency hormones, as they prepare our body to face emotions like jealousy, anger, fear, anxiety, etc. that will be controlled by these hormones called emergency hormones, catecholamines. And coming to the cortex region of the adrenal gland, three portions can be differentiated: zona granularis, and then zona fasciculata, zona reticularis. So in the zona fasciculata, corticoids are secreted. Two types of corticoids: mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids. Mineralocorticoids, they regulate water and salt balance. Example, aldosterone. It regulates the absorption of sodium and water during the tubular reabsorption, aldosterone, and it also increases the GFR, glomerular filtration rate, and it also helps in the excretion of the potassium, phosphates, etc. That is the role of aldosterone, that is mineralocorticoids. And coming to the glycocorticoids, the chief hormone is the cortisol, which plays an important role in gluconeogenesis, that is the formation of glucose from other than carbohydrates, because of lipolysis and the proteolysis, lipolysis. Because of these things also glucose is produced, and thus it plays an important role in the gluconeogenesis. But important thing is it inhibits the cellular uptake of amino acids. It inhibits the cellular uptake of amino acids and plays an important role in anti-inflammatory reactions and suppression of immune system, and it is required for the RBC production and the normal function of the liver and kidney. These things are required. And in the cortex region, some androgenic hormones are also secreted. This results in the production of the axial hairs, pubic hairs or facial hairs in men, androgenic hormones. And apart from this, coming to the pancreas, there are about the endocrine portions of the pancreas called islet of Langerhans. 1 to 2 millions of islet of Langerhans are present in human pancreas, and 1 to 2% of pancreas is represented by the islet of Langerhans. Consists of two types of cells, alpha cells and beta cells. Alpha cells secrete glucagon, which helps in the conversion of glycogen to glucose. Thus it elevates the levels of glucose in the blood, hence it is called hyperglycemic factor. And there is one hormone secreted by the beta cells called insulin, which regulates the glucose composition of the blood, and it helps in the conversion of glycogen to glucose to glycogen. Hence it brings down the level of glucose in the blood, hence it is called hypoglycemic factor. So this insulin stimulates especially the hepatic cells and adipocyte cells for the glucose utilization. That is very, very important, and actually it is the insulin which transports glucose into the cells. And then under secretion of this insulin causes diabetes mellitus, characterized by extreme thirsty and glycosuria, that is the presence of glucose in urine, and ketone bodies, the presence of ketone bodies in the urine, loss of weight, fatigue. They are the other symptoms of the diabetes mellitus. And there are other parts, as we know very well, which secrete different hormones. For example, even the heart, the ventricles of the heart, because of more blood supply, secretes ANF, atrionatriuretic factor. This by feedback mechanism. So this decreases the GFR, which is very important. Atrionatriuretic factor, ANF, secreted by the heart cells. As I told you earlier, some cellular modifications of the distal convoluted tubule and afferent artery, at this junction JGA is produced, juxtaglomerular apparatus. This secretes renin and erythropoietin. Renin is a hormone which helps in the conversion of angiotensin to angiotensin 1 and 2, and which is a powerful vasoconstrictor and increases GFR. Erythropoietin helps in the production of the RBC. And there is one more hormone called cholecystokinin. Cholecystokinin and GIP secreted by the duodenum mucosa that secretes cholecystokinin, CCK, and gastric inhibitory peptide hormone. So this gastric inhibitory peptide hormone inhibits the secretion of the gastric juice, and cholecystokinin, it stimulates the production of the pancreatic juice as well as the bile juice, that is cholecystokinin. And these are the certain hormones and which are secreted from other than the endocrine system. And also the next to this is there are different types of hormones, like peptide hormones, iodothyronin hormones, and then steroidal hormones. Amino acid derivative is epinephrine. Epinephrine is derived from amino acid phenylalanine and tyrosine. And then iodothyronin hormones, that is called thyroxine. And the peptide hormones and steroid hormones. Steroid hormones are nothing but as we know, the progesterone, aldosterone, estradiol, testosterone. These are all the steroid hormones which have the steroid structure for these hormones. And then these hormones, so say for example, protein, peptide hormones are transported along the cell membrane through the secondary messenger, say for example cyclic adenomonophosphate, cyclic CAMP, that is the secondary messenger which brings these hormones into the interior region of the cell to the region of target. And in case of the steroid hormones, they form the complexes and they enter into the genome. That is very important. So far not asked, so these two differences are very important. And with this I have completed all the 22 chapters in the first PUC and all the 38 chapters in the biology. Very important for the NEET, and the importance given, I have stressed certain points, telling that this is important. Those things are very important. You can easily score more marks if you read all these things, if you listen to this, and if you follow this. So please don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe.